Some are still weary, especially at night. Reporting live in Henrico County tonight, Angela Pellerano, CBS 6 News. Let's send it back to you, Bill. There are also several pieces of evidence, including jet engines, landing gear, and also a camera that belonged to the only working journalist killed on 9/11. We begin CBS 6 News at 11 with a live look at I-95 in Richmond. That's where VDOT crews have been working more than 24 hours already to replace a decades-old bridge that more than 50,000 of you cross every single day. Good evening, everyone. I'm Angela Pellerano. Thanks for joining us tonight. VDOT has been asking you to avoid the Laburnum Avenue Bridge this weekend, and it looks like drivers have been listening. Traffic's been light and moving pretty well all day, except for a few minor fender benders like this one. This 3-car crash, by the way, took place this afternoon. Fortunately, no one was injured. Tonight, our John Burkett gives you a closer look at the repairs being made. In Joplin, Missouri, people are still trying to account for all of the victims of last Sunday's deadly tornado. Today, exactly 1 week later, President Barack Obama toured the disaster area. Congresswoman Giffords, who was shot in the attack, keeps improving. So much so, she was upgraded from critical to serious condition today. CBS News correspondent Karen Brown reports from Tucson, on you at 11. The race for Henrico Commonwealth's attorney is heating up with the addition of a new candidate. And thanks for joining us, everyone. We appreciate your company. Have a good night. Last night's storms, as you mentioned, caused tree limbs to snap like this one.
I'm Angela Pellerano at the corner of Bell Road and Broad Rock Boulevard, where the wind is whipping, the rain is lashing, and the power is out. As you can see, this intersection is not working. Police are actually monitoring this area to make sure nobody gets into any wrecks.
Here at the Stingray Point Marina on the Rappahannock River, you would never think a hurricane blew through here. No trees are down, no debris on the ground, and every single boat is intact. I'm Angela Pellerano in Gloucester, Virginia, where relief efforts are underway. Community leaders have set up a command center at a local church, providing everything from diapers to food to clothing for the more than 100 victims affected. The coordinator says that once the victims' basic needs have been taken care of, local emergency management teams along with volunteers will go to the affected areas and help to rebuild.
I'm still palm sweating right now.
Still sweating 2 days after a 50-ton steel wall fell onto the highway and barely missed his car. That's Wayne Gray's red car right there on I-95 South Wednesday afternoon, and the steel wall right in front of it.
It started falling just like this, and I hit the brake immediately.
Gray wasn't hurt, but Gertrude Clark was. This is her white SUV. Clark says the steel wall hit her right fender, causing her airbags to deploy. She's thankful she's alive, thankful not only to God, but to Gray.
I was a good Samaritan. He ran down to help me get out the car and dragged me out.
She says right after the accident, smoke was smoldering from her car, and Gray came to her rescue.
There was people standing all around. I got out of the car, and nobody went over that car. And she was screaming. So I walk over, open the door, and she said, "Get me out of here! Get me out of here!" And I'm looking. I see smoke coming out of the floorboard, and I smell something burning. And I'm thinking this thing's gonna catch on fire any minute. So I just tell her to turn around, and I put my arms up under her arms, and I just pulled her right on out.
The man told me just calm down. He was trying to calm me down and everything.
I just pulled her out. I didn't think it was that big a deal at the time. I don't know.
What he does know is that he and Clark escaped death.
I was about 1.5 seconds from being severed. She was about 1/2 second.
Republican presidential frontrunner Herman Cain stops in Richmond this afternoon to talk about his plans for the White House. Good evening, everyone. I'm Angela Pellerano. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Cain's recent rise to frontrunner status in the GOP presidential primary has drawn more than just the attention of voters. The long-shot candidate with no public office on his resume is now running a close second to former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney and has surpassed Texas Governor Rick Perry in national polls. Tonight, he spoke with CBS 6.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Herman Cain.
More than 1,100 people packed the Richmond Convention Center for the Family Foundation of Virginia's annual gala, where GOP presidential candidate Herman Cain was the keynote speaker.
Our time is now.
The theme was Our Time Is Now, and he feels this is his time to lead the country. In an interview, CBS 6 asked Cain how he intends to win Virginia's vote.
The way I'm going to help Virginians
is to help this national economy, because that's our biggest domestic priority.
He says he believes the engine to economic growth is the business sector. It starts with throwing away the tax code and replacing it with a simple tax structure.
Then we passed a 9% business flat tax, a 9% personal income flat tax, and a 9% national sales tax. The other big advantage of the 999 plan is that businesses would reestablish some certainty.
And with the minority vote in Virginia favoring Democrats, we asked Kaine how he intends to win the black vote.
I happen to believe I'm going to get a significant amount of the black vote, not because I'm black, but because of my ideas. They like the fact that I'm talking about fixing Social Security with an actual solution, not just talking about that it's broken or when we're going to run off the cliff. Solutions is what transcends ethnic group, demographic group, economic group, doesn't matter.
When asked what he would tell the Occupy Wall Street protesters, he said this.
You are demonstrating against the wrong group. It's just class warfare. You need to be over at the White House demonstrating. And the other thing that I would say, I would pose it to them in the form of a question. What do you want the people on Wall Street to do? Come out of their offices and write you a check? It doesn't work that way. America was built upon the free market system. America was built upon every individual having an opportunity based upon their own motivation, their own determination, and their own aspiration in order to achieve their American dreams.
Angela Pellerano, CBS 6 News.
I get chills still watching it.
Carrie Wirtz says she still can't believe what she saw and recorded. A naked man getting beat up.
2 guys punched him, it looked like there, and then now 3 of them are kicking him. And he's laying helpless on the ground, not trying to attack back, just trying to cover his face.
It happened around 2 in the morning Sunday. The bars had just let out. 200 to 300 people outside on the corner of Robinson and Main in Richmond's Fan District, and a naked man in his 20s, intoxicated, in the middle of the street.
He was stumbling around, not trying to fight anyone. He wasn't acting violent.
He approaches an SUV full of men. A few seconds later,
3 of the men in the car jumped out. One of them punched the guy on the side of the face. He helplessly fell to the ground, covered his face to protect himself, and the men continued to kick him from the front and from the back.
Soon, police arrived, and Wirtz shows 2 of the officers the video.
And both of them said they didn't need it.
People get upset with each other.
Starlight bouncer Simon Kuhn also witnessed the attack. He says the naked man attempted to get inside his bar just a few minutes before.
So I put my hand on his chest and literally just walked him outside and held him at arm's distance on that corner for probably 5, 8 minutes, something like that, before he got distracted and went over to the car.
Kuhn says he was shocked at what happened next and says that he and other bar patrons jumped in as soon as the first punch was thrown.
He was in no danger of hurting anyone. He was barely able to stand on his own.
I honestly think it's appalling that 3 men can jump out of a car and maliciously attack somebody and then get away with it. Have them still on the streets is just terrifying.
And we're determined to see this through to the end, which is probably the Supreme Court.
Virginia's Attorney General Ken Cuccinelli spoke candidly after a 2.5-hour hearing in federal court, where his office argued that the federal health care law violates the Constitution. He says the government can't force you to buy insurance.
Government's role is
while the Obama administration argues everyone is a health care consumer, so everyone should pay for it. Cuccinelli was the first elected official in the country to file suit hours after the health care bill became law. I asked him if he had spoken to President Obama about this legislation.
That hasn't happened.
Do you want to?
Oh, I'd love to discuss it. I'd love to play basketball. But, he's a little busy at the moment trying to hold on to his majorities, and I don't imagine that I'm his favorite person in the world at the moment.
I asked him what he would say to Virginians who support health care reform.
I certainly understand the concern of people who get the goodies out of the bill, who get the benefits. But a starting condition for every piece of legislation in this country, whether it's good, bad, ugly, pretty, whatever it may be, is that it must be constitutional. And this bill is not constitutional. And if you allow a bill to stand and say, well, but it gets us good things, even though it's unconstitutional, well, I guarantee you this, the government will exercise that same power later for something that you don't think is so good.
While he is opposed to the current law, Cuccinelli says he hopes this case will inspire lawmakers to revisit the issue.
I do think one of the outcomes of this whole contest with the federal government is that there will be a greater drive, both in Washington and in the state capitals around the country, to enact true reforms that make healthcare more accessible to more people by getting government out of the way.